question. If we could fairly quickly, because we're running a bit short on time, but you had a question for Sajid?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. This was interesting. I've short two questions. You said during your speech that you would recommend that all countries, European countries in particular, which do deals with China, should put human rights as a priority. And if those human rights are not complied with, the deal should not go ahead, right? Did I get you right? Now, I'm German. We have a situation, interesting situation, that our foreign minister, Marlene Baerbock, she wants to have, and she's foreign minister now from the Green Party, and she wants to have human rights issue as one precondition for foreign policy. Now, another Green minister is, and Frank, you know the situation, is our Minister for Economy and for Climate Change and Energy, Habeck. He's a powerful minister. He has not been outspoken on that one because the coalition treaty says that Germany should maintain its economic advantage in being a net export nation. So we are one of the few nations who have not only a net export balance, positive net export balance, but also with China. So we're importing much more to China than China imports to us. I think that's an exception in Europe. So what would you tell the German minister? What would you tell him? And saying, listen, guys, you might have to drop your export focus in order to preserve the priority for human rights as proposed by your Green colleague. How would you persuade him? I mean, I'm just interested in that one. The second question to you is, if I may ask, when I was last time in China, this was in 2019, we had meetings with different people from universities, from the state regulation authority and others. We talked about wind power stuff, some renewable energy stuff. And I was, at this point in time, I was reading in the papers that, not in China, that Malaysia, but also Pakistan had problems with some of the Chinese projects of the Road and Belt initiatives. Similar as some African countries on land grabs and others. We haven't talked about this one. So I was asking the Chinese authorities and said, listen, guys, if you do your Road and Belt initiative, you need to look into, and you said it correctly as well, you need to look into environmental sustainability issues significantly as a precondition for making those projects viable, acceptable for the people, to provide something better than the business as usual. So what, and I mentioned that one, I said, what would you say if Europe would start a kind of, they wouldn't name it this way, a Road and Belt initiative, which would be in a kind of competition to you guys. And the Chinese were laughing. And they were saying, oh, Europe doesn't get its act together. They said it in a diplomatic way. But probably based on experience, they said Europe doesn't get its act together. We have seen a couple of weeks ago that the European Commission has started, interestingly, an exercise to allocate 300 billion euros for a similar thing. They wouldn't call it a competition or a challenge to China, but they would call it their own export and infrastructure development for developing countries, similar to the RBI. And there might be more money coming in. They're looking also for extra funding. They look for private investment. So what would you recommend what Europe should do in your regions to address those issues you mentioned correctly, the potential freshwater crisis, the benefit for the local population, et cetera, et cetera. So what should Europe do in your region?
Actually, when I want to reply your question, so I was thinking about what are the options left to improve the situation. I mean, as far as my concern is, China has occupied my land. That is one thing. That is Aksai-Chin and Shakzam Valley. Then definitely Europe have a very strong policy, and Europe have formulated policy in 2007 and passed resolution by majority. That is a constant. That is not the question of what I'm saying and what you are saying. Europe has already formulated a policy about Jammu and Kashmir vis-a-vis India, Pakistan, and that South Asian region. And the author of that policy, Baroness Emma Nicholson, and we have given our input in during that resolutions. As far as concern your question about what German can do to finish either the historical accord of trades or like things. What I'm suggesting, for example, European Union have a bilateral, or EU has a relationship with GSP plus, a trade relationship, a status. And I don't think so. If your nation or your government is not ready to take a drastic action, but then set a timeline between taking some certain measures. For example, as a European, as a democratic nation, you have to engage either China or Pakistan to take certain measures to improve your situation. That's why I am in this panel today to express my views. This is an Olympic where Europe is going to join that Olympic. If Europe is going to boycott this, that is a strong message. That is strong message as a democratic nation, as a European nation. We have voted for a resolution. We are going to boycott. You have to take certain measures. You have to improve the situation regarding human rights. You have improved the situation religious right, and you have to ensure the fundamental freedom. You have to ensure the freedom of speech. You have to ensure the freedom of expression, and you have to respect our international pledges which you have made or you have just signed. Okay, that is one thing. That is my point of view. If that is, whenever we talk, we are living in European Union, and we must focus on your policies regarding Europe is a big power, is economic power, is leading the world after United. For example, what happened in 1980s when United States boycotted the Russian Olympic, when Russia invaded Afghanistan. Okay, what happened next? Or that is decentralized USSR, but that was a step. We do not want to be China to be decentralized or like this, but at least in case of Taiwan, in case of Uyghurs, in case of Tibet, in case of people of Jammu and Kashmir, they must respect the human rights. There is no other option left. If you are not going to boycott Olympics, then I don't think so you are going to finish all the pledges or trade agreement to finish instantly. But slowly and gradually, you can take some certain steps to ensure and for the safety and security of the people. For example, in European Parliament, we have joined Ilham. We have started a campaign, Ilham Tuti. I think most of people maybe know. What happened, that is another thing, but we have to strive for the people who are suffering, the people who are suffering in concentration camps. If we do not become voice of those people, who can talk about them? That is very much important. This is not just a simple thing. You are okay, you can finish. Believe me, the countries have their national interest. We do not want countries do not have a national interest. They always protect their national interest. But at least if they do not become a voiceless, then who is going to stand with those people? That is very important for us. Thank you.
Sajid, thank you. I'd like to ask Manel to come and join us. She was, as you will recall,